Hello everyone, now here's an interesting one for you. This was shared by Ukraine's 425th Scholar Group. It shows a Ukrainian soldier on patrol who suddenly finds himself accompanied by a pair of Russian soldiers who are mistaken for one of their own in the settlement of Boikivka. Now, the Ukrainian remains calm, walking on as normal and not panicking in the slightest. The Ukrainian soldier even engages in some small talk with the two Russian soldiers before letting them go in front, where he proceeds to shoot them from behind. I've had to cut that bit out, unfortunately, to get this video on YouTube. But it is a pretty fine example here of a fog of war. I don't think I can really mock the Russians for this here, as these things do happen. Ukraine had an issue in the early stages of the war, where a Russian tank drove onto a Ukrainian group of soldiers who mistook it for one of their own, and it fired on them at point blank range. So, it does easily happen. Now here, I don't know the context of this, so whether this is a Ukrainian who somehow ended up behind the Russian lines, where Ukrainians weren't really meant to be or expected to be, which led to the Russians thinking he was one of them. I guess the geolocation will shed some light onto that, which I'll get to soon. Before we check that though, a few reasons why this mistake can be made and why he got away with it. Many Ukrainians can speak Russian, so they'd be able to engage in small talk with the Russians like he did and pass off as one of them. Additionally, many of the Ukrainian Russian soldiers do use the same or similar equipment, and Russians have even been using captured Western equipment, so that wouldn't really be much of a clue as well, and could help lead to the confusion. Now, we also often see videos of soldiers on both sides wearing bright tape to avoid incidents like this from happening in friendly fire incidents. But from what I can tell here, neither side was wearing any. And of course, we can't rule out the Russians being drunk or high. Half of them are so out of it most of the time they see Elvis Presley and Stevie Wonder dancing around their dugout and don't bat an eye. The geolocation for this was done by Specs on Twitter and it's on screen now. So, the Russian patrol was here, heading west towards the settlement of Boikivka. Now the geolocation for this one is very important, as it may give us some more context as to what happened here. And here it is zoomed out. So west of Novoturets and north of a settlement called Fedorivka. And this is very interesting. This is actually behind Russian lines, and a good 2.5 kilometers behind the lines, which does explain the Russians' confusion here, and why they fell for the ruse. But as for what the Ukrainian was actually doing here, who knows? Now, I don't think this is a sign of a sudden Ukrainian push to the area which caught Russia with their kegs down, as I haven't heard anything about that happening here. I'm wondering if maybe he was a behind Russian lines sabotage or special operations unit who got spotted by the Russians and decided that the best thing to do was to play off as being a Russian soldier himself and managed to bluff his way past them. I can't say for sure, but this isn't bang on the front lines like expected. It's over 2 kilometers into Russian occupied territory. Hopefully the Ukrainians' presence here is a sign that Russia's control here is very shaky. Now, also, an alternative idea. I wonder if this may be an internal dispute between Russians. I know the video says it was a Ukrainian soldier here, but it is possible that the spotter drone tracking them saw this happen and just immediately assumed that it was a Ukrainian soldier behind the Russian lines, when really it could be some sort of internal dispute between the Russians here. But then it's likely that the Ukrainian drone operator which was monitoring this incident was monitoring him because he was a Ukrainian soldier operating behind enemy lines. So, who knows? I personally do think this is a Ukrainian soldier here who bluffed his way past, but we can't rule out this being an internal dispute between Russians, I guess. This is here zoomed out, so it's in the Pokrovsk area, a major area at the moment and one of the key areas where Russia's carrying out ongoing offensives. So, that's it for this video. Hope you found it interesting. If so, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thanks very much and take care, everybody.